TotalEnergies is a French multinational integrated energy and petroleum company. The company was founded on March 28, 1924, and to this very day, the company is still alive and healthy. So, how did it become so popular? Let's find out. Compagnie Française de Pétrole from 1924 to 1985. The company was founded after World War I when petrol was seen as a vital in case of a new with war in Germany. The then French President Raymond Poincaré rejected the idea of forming a partnership with Royal Dutch Shell in favor of creating an entirely French oil company. At Poincaré's behest, Colonel Ernest Mercier, with the support of 90 banks and companies, founded Total in 1924 as Compagnie Française de Pétrole, CFP, which in English translates to the French Petroleum Company. As per the agreement reached during the San Remo Conference of 1920, the French state received the 25% share held by Deutsche Bank in the Turkish Petroleum Company TPC as part of the compensation for war damages caused by Germany during World War I. The French government stake in TPC was transferred to CFP, and the Red Line Agreement in 1928 rearranged the shareholding of CFP in TPC, later renamed the Iraq Petroleum Company in 1929 to 23.75%. The company from the start was regarded as a private sector company in view of its listing on the Paris Stock Exchange in 1929. During the 1930s, the company was engaged in exploration and production, primarily from the Middle East. Its first refinery began operating in Normandy in 1933. After World War II, CFP engaged in oil exploration in Venezuela, Canada, and Africa while pursuing energy sources within France. Exploration in Algeria, then a French colony, began in 1946, with Algeria becoming a leading source of oil in the 1950s. In 1954, CFP introduced its downstream product, Total brand of gasoline in Africa and Europe. Total entered the United States in 1971 by acquiring Leonard Petroleum of Alma, Michigan, and several Standard Oil of Indiana stations in Metro Detroit. In 1980, Total Petroleum North America Limited, a company controlled 50% by CFP, bought the American refining and marketing assets of Vickers Petroleum as part of a sell-off by Esmark of its energy holdings. This purchase gave Total refining capacity, transportation, and a network of 350 service stations in 20 states. Total CFP and rebranding to Total in 1985 to 2003. Total's leadership had been aware of the deleterious effects of global warming since at least 1971. The company nevertheless openly denied the findings of climate science until the 1990s. Total also pursued a number of strategies to cover up the threat and the contribution to the climate crisis. The company renamed itself Total CFP in 1985 to build the popularity of its gasoline brand. Later in 1991, the name was changed to Total when it became a public company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. In 1991, the French government held more than 30% of the company's stock, but by 1996 had reduced its stake to less than 1%. In the period between 1990 and 1994, foreign ownership of the firm increased from 23% to 44%. Meanwhile, Total continued to expand its retail presence in North America under several brand names. In 1989, Denver, Colorado-based Total Petroleum, Total CFP's North American unit, purchased 125 Roadrunner retail locations from Texarkana, Texas-based Truman Arnold's companies. By 1993, Total Petroleum was operating 2,600 retail stores under the Vickers, Opco, Roadrunner, and Total brands. That year, the company began remodeling and rebranding all of its North American gasoline and convenience stores to use the Total name. 4 years later, Total sold its North American refining and retail operations to Ultramar, Diamond, Shamrock for $400 million in stock and $414 million in assumed debit. After Total's takeover of Petrofina of Belgium in 1999, it became known as Total Fina. Afterwards, it also acquired Elf Aquitaine, first named Total Fina Elf after the merger in 2000. Its name reverted to Total in 2003. During that rebranding, the globe logo was unveiled. In 2003, Total signed for a 30% stake in the gas exploration venture in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia (KSA). Saudi Rub Al Khali joint venture along with the Royal Dutch Shell and Saudi Aramco. The stake was later bought out by its partners. In 2006, Saudi Aramco and Total signed a memorandum of the understanding to develop the Jubail refinery and petrochemical project in Saudi Arabia, which targeted 400,000 barrels per day BPD. 2 years later, the two companies officially established a joint venture called Saudi Aramco Total Refining and Petrochemical Company (SATORP), in which a 62.5% stake was held by Saudi Aramco, and the balance 37.5% held by Total. Total withdrew in 2006 from an all-Iranian development work because of the United Nations concerns that resulted in sanctions over possible weaponization of the nuclear program of Iran. During the 2009 to 2010 Iraqi Oil Services Contracts Tender, a consortium led by CNPC 37.5%, which also included Total 18.75% and Petronas 18.75%, was awarded a production contract for the Hafia field in the south of Iraq, which contains an estimated 4.1 billion barrels, 650 million meters cubed of oil. As of 2010, Total had over 96,000 employees and operated in more than 130 countries. In 2010, Total announced plans to pull out of the forecourt market in the United Kingdom. In 2012, Total announced it was selling its 20% stake and operating mandate in its Nigerian offshore project to a unit of China Petrochemical Corporation for $2.5 billion. In 2013, Total started the operation at Kashgan with the North Caspian Operating Company. It is the biggest discovery of oil reserves since 1968. In 2013, Total increased its stake in Novatec to 16.96%. In 2013, Total and its joint venture partner agreed to buy Chevron Corporation's retail distribution business in Pakistan for an undisclosed amount. In January 2014, Total became the first major oil and gas firm to acquire exploration rights for shale gas in the UK after it bought a 40% interest in 2 licenses in the Gasborough True area of Northern England for $48 million. In July 2014, the company disclosed it was in talks to sell its LPG distribution business in France to Pennsylvania-based UGI Corporation for 450 million euros, which is $615 million. On October 20th, 2014, at 23:57 MST, a Dassault Falcon 50 business jet heading to Paris caught fire and exploded during takeoff after colliding with a snow removal vehicle in Vinuko International Airport, killing 4, including 3 crew members and CEO of Total SA, Christopher Di Maggiore, on board. Alcohol presence was confirmed in the blood of the driver of the vehicle on the ground. Patrick Pione, who was Total's refining chief at the time, was appointed as CEO and also as chairman of Total in 2015. In 2015, Total unveiled plans to cut 180 jobs in the United Kingdom, reduce refinery capacity, and slow spending on North Sea fields after it fell to a $5.7 billion final quarter loss. The company said it would sell off $5 billion worth of assets worldwide and cut exploration costs by 30%. In 2016, Total signed a $224 million deal to buy Lampress, the third largest Belgian supplier of gas and renewable energy, to expand its gas and power distribution activities. In 2016, Total bought French battery maker Saft Group A SA in a $1.1 billion deal to boost its development in renewable energy and electricity businesses. In 2016, Total agreed to acquire $2.2 billion in upstream and downstream assets from Petrobras as part of the firm's strategic alliance announced earlier that year. For Total, these new partnerships with Petrobras reinforced Total's position in Brazil, though access to new fields in Santos Basin was entering the gas value chain. Between 2013 and 2017, Total organized the Argos Challenge, a robotic competition with the aim to develop robots for their oil and gas production sites. It was won by an Austrian-German team using a variant of the Traub Tracker robot. In 2017, Total signed a deal for a total amount of $4.8 billion with Iran for the development and production of South Pars, the world's largest gas field. The deal was the first foreign investment in Iran since the 2015 sanctions over Iran's nuclear weapons station were lifted by the JCPOA. In 2017, Total announced the acquisition of Maersk Oil for $7.45 billion in a share and debit transaction. This deal positioned Total as the second operator in the North Sea. In 2017, Total signed an agreement with EREN Renewable Energy to acquire an interest of 23% in EREN RE for an amount of €237.5 million. In November 2017, Total announced the launch of the French residential market of Total Spring, a natural gas and green power offering that is 10% cheaper than regulated tariffs. Total is thus pursuing its strategy of downstream integration in the gas and power value chain in Europe. In 2018, Total officially withdrew from the Iranian South Pars gas field because of sanctions pressure from the US. In 2019, Total announced the sale of a 30% stake in the Tarpil pipeline network to crude oil storage operator Pisto SAS for €260 million. Later that year, Total signed deals to transfer 30% and 28.33% of its assets in Namibia's Block 2913B and Block 2912, respectively, to Qatar Energy. The company will also transfer 40% of its existing 25% interests in the Oradell and Konoku blocks of Guyana and 25% interest blocks L11A, L11B, and L12 of Kenya to Qatar Energy. In 2020, the company announced its intention to cut 500 voluntary jobs in France. In 2021, Total left the American Petroleum Institute lobby due to differences in the common vision of how to tackle the fight against climate change. In 2021, Total said that it had registered an income of $3 billion for the period of January to March, which is close to the levels registered before the pandemic, rebranding to TotalEnergies, which is taking place in the present. In 2021, the company announced a name change to TotalEnergies as an intended illustration of its investments in the production of green electricity. At the extraordinary shareholders meeting in May of that year, shareholders approved the name change to TotalEnergies. In 2022, TotalEnergies announced it would end all operations in Myanmar, citing rampant human rights abuses and deteriorating rule of law since the 2021 Myanmar coup d'etat, and has also called for international sanctions targeting the oil and gas sector in the country, which is one of the main sources of revenue for Myanmar's government. As of March 11, 2022, Total was one of the only Western oil companies to continue operating in Russia after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. In 2022, TotalEnergies signed a partnership with Qatar for the world's largest LNG expansion project, the North Field East NFE. Holding the largest stake, 6.25%, TotalEnergies will hold the equivalent of one of the four Titans. of the 4 trains. In September 2022, an additional agreement was signed to include the Northfield South NFS, which is the second phase of the NFE. This gave TotalEnergies a stake of 9.375% of the 25% stakes available to international companies. On March 30th, 2023, Total sold a shipment of LNG which is sourced from UAE to CNOOC on the Shanghai Shanghai Petroleum and Natural Gas Exchange. It was reportedly the first trade to be settled in the renminbi, Chinese yuan, currency on the SHPGX. In July 2023, Iraq signed a $27 billion energy agreement with TotalEnergies to develop the country's energy sector and boost output of oil, gas, and renewables. Additionally, Indian Oil Corporation has signed liquefied natural gas LNG import deals with ADNOC LNG and TotalEnergies in the same months. In October 2023, TotalEnergies sold its Canadian operations to Suncor Energy for $1.47 billion. TotalEnergies has agreed to buy liquefied natural gas from TAR for 27 years, cementing the European nations' commitment to fossil fuels beyond 2050. And there's a history of TotalEnergies. How did they become so popular? Well, I think when they started to team up with Chevron, I think that's how they became very popular. Anyways, with that being said, I think I'm going to end off this video. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like button. And also, don't forget to subscribe to get updated today. And also, don't forget to subscribe to my new walkthrough channel, Exotic and Walkthroughs. And also, don't forget to subscribe to Game Space as well. And until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!